Gıda Etiği Derneği Target'in Korona Günleri Sanal Konferansları dizisine hoş geldiniz. Ben Berivan Alkaş Başdoğan. Derneğimiz adına bu konferanslar dizisinde size ev sahipliği yapacağım. Konferans dizisinin amacı, Covid-19 salgınının yaşandığı günlerde tarım ve gıda sisteminde yaşananları değerlendirmeye çalışmak ve sistemin geleceğine dair düşünsel katkıda bulunmaktır. Bu sunumda Bergen Üniversitesi öğretim üyesi Profesör Doktor Sayın Matthias Kaiser, Global Benchmarks for Post-Pandemic Food Systems, A Critic of the EAT-Lancet Report başlığı altında bizimle görüşlerini paylaşacak. İyi seyirler dileriz.
Hello. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whatever time it is when you see this video recording. I want, first of all, to convey my very best greetings to all my good friends and colleagues in Turkey who are joining this Target online conference. I'm Matthias Kaiser. I'm from the University of Bergen here in Norway. And as you know, we are living in strange times. It's not even post-pandemic. We are still in the middle of a pandemic, and it has changed all our lives. However, we need to think about the essentials of our lives. Use that occasion, use that extraordinary circumstance that we are under now to really reflect upon how we want our lives to be once we get out of this pandemic, once we enter the post-pandemic times. And I would like to inspire you a little bit concerning thinking about this. And what do you do? Well, first of all, I think we should cast a critical look at how we thought the future would be, and in particular about the food futures, how they would be. My feeling is that we have to make a fresh start, that we have to think differently, that we have to change a lot of our traditions, including our academic traditions, maybe in particular our academic traditions. I don't think we can continue to work in our academic silos and remain within the firm bounds of our disciplines. We need to enter transdisciplinarity. We need to open up to the world, to the voices that are coming to us, to the complaints, to the problems, much more than we have done before. And I think we also have to revise the kind of answers that we try to provide for these problems. So this is to inspire you thinking about the future food systems. And as I said, maybe we should start with a critical look what we thought, how we could approach these problems. And I will come up with the criticism of one important aspect of it, and that is, or one important contribution in the recent years, and that is the EAT-Lancet report. I'll try to share my slides about that. Let's see if I can do that. Here we go. Here it is. So this is about the global benchmarks for post-pandemic food systems. It is the EAT-Lancet report that tried to do this, giving us some benchmarks how our food system should operate and what we should aim for. Unfortunately, I think this report shows a lot of very good intentions and also some very good ideas. However, I think it fails at the global recipe. And let me just go through this. I start first with something else, and how does that work? Here it is. The EAT-Lancet report is one of the reports that we have seen recently, and you can see on the slides there's a number of them, some of them from the FAO, and some of them from the EU, European Union, like Food from the Oceans, or on the left you see a sustainable food system. The latter one is actually a very good report. But and Food from the Oceans I myself have been part of. But I shall focus on the kind of problem perception that we had here. First, we all know that the food system that we have been operating under has been modeled upon mass consumption models with a linear economic value chain. And you can see a depiction of this value chain down there, from inputs to production to processing, distribution, marketing, and consumption. Now, I think we have left, or we should have left, that linear thinking a while ago. And many reports, for example, the SAPEA report on the mapping the food system, is operating with a more complex model. It's maybe a circular model and an interactive model where the food chain, the food system, is interacting with other systems like politics, like health, like environment, like society and economy. That kind of interaction provides for a very complex picture and a very complex challenge, that is. So many reports, even the FAO, conclude, and this is a quote from the SAPEA report, that business as usual is no longer a viable option and radical change is required. Let's stop and pause here for a while. What does it say really? It says that the way we conceived of our food system is intrinsically wrong. And particularly the way we managed it, the way we planned it, is intrinsically wrong. We have to redesign it in a new manner. And that is, of course, a rather radical claim. So how are we going to do this? Well, first, maybe why? My personal view is that food research has committed some basic mistakes so far, that also, guided by good intentions, it did not come up with viable solutions for the future. Why is that? I think we were too long, too happy with too narrow disciplinary silos. We have been working in our sub-disciplines or sub-disciplines too long and used specialized models and specialized terminology to come up with solutions. But we have not managed so far to truly engage in what is called transdisciplinarity. We have been too gullible in regard to the most powerful actors. That is, for example, OECD or FAO or others. We have been following what their political reports have been saying and adopted their visions, adapted to their terminology and their models, and even data. I recall a meeting in the European Union, and a report was presented. This is from Food from the Oceans, and there was a variety of depictions of the seafood production, and some of them were based on academic data that were not captured by the FAO reports and were used in different settings. The FAO representative, replied that there is only one set of data, and that is the FAO data. So there was power involved when we were discussing food systems, and we should free ourselves from these pressures. We have been too obedient to economic modeling. As I've been saying, this linear thinking has not been of a big benefit to us. Taleb has been writing a book on black swans, the unexpected high impact events. And I think what we are facing now, the pandemic, is maybe such an unexpected high impact event. And finally, we were too easily seduced by silver bullets or global master plans. That is, we are looking at the world as a whole, as if it were one unit we are dealing with, and not a diversification of different interacting and entangled systems with very different drivers and resources. So, and these silver bullets or these global master plans have been dominating too much. And I will come now to the example, and that is the the EAT-Lancet report. Here you can read that transformation to healthy diets by 2050 will require substantial dietary shifts. I think we can agree on that. Global consumption of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and legumes will have to double, and consumption of foods such as red meat and sugar will have to be reduced by more than 50%. A diet rich in plant-based food and with fewer animal source foods confers both improved health and environmental benefits. If we read it in such a general manner, I think there may be quite a lot of truth in it. But be aware that it is very specific and very global. If you come to the more detailed descriptions, you can see that the report operates with much more specified targets. And that is where my criticism comes in. So let's see what my criticism is. My first criticism is that the report is culturally biased. It is designed for the affluent populations of the global north or with the west. It has little applicability to places like sub-Saharan Africa or Southeast Asia. I figure it might also have little applicability to places like Turkey, but that is for you to judge. Glancing reference to people and their morals there is, but it ignores the cultural embeddedness of food. Food is much more than just nutrition. Food is tradition. Food is social interaction among people in families and cultural traditions, religious feasts, and so on. It ignores also the diverse realities of small-scale producers and their local temporal and situational context. In many countries of the world, particularly in the poor countries, we don't see this large-scale production, but we see local, small-scale producers, family-owned farms that live on the edge of subsistence and that have to struggle with the resources they have. And these situations are very different in different parts of the world. Secondly, I think it is too light-footed in regard to scientific rigor. There is a major claim in the report that if we follow its advice, it will easily save 11 million lives annually. Now, this is quite an extraordinary claim. 11 lives annually, globally. Now, how does that work? Well, they have used 3 different assessments of diet-related diseases and triangulated them. And they say that all these assessments end up with roughly 11 million lives that could be saved due to a change of diet. However, these statistics include high uncertainties, and especially when applied globally. We see that the health benefits of the diet are very different. Also, the diseases are very different in different parts of the world. We know that certain diseases are more common in some countries and less common in others. What I suspect is this is an alarmist claim for a political effect. And I don't think that should be the case in a report like that. And that connects to my 3rd criticism. And it says that the report operates with precisely quantified targets of healthy nutritional intake. Now, saying that so and so much kilocalories you need of this or of that per day, and so on. Now, the point is that these targets have changed the last 40 years continually. And many experts are agreed that in nutritional science, the quantified targets are beset with extreme high system uncertainties. And the literature is often divided about the pros and the cons about it. To the right, you can see a study from Schoenfeld and Ioannidis, the so-called Boston Cookbook study, which targeted 50 ingredients of this cookbook and checked what's in the literature about these ingredients in regard to cancer risks. And for each and every one, you can find there was a handful of them that showed a positive effect and another handful that showed a negative effect on cancer risks. And that went for all of them. So there is scientific uncertainty and dispute about that. My 4th criticism relates to the mere approach of proposing a top-down global solution. I don't think we can live with that. I don't think this is the way to go. It lacks acknowledging critical adaptivity and bottom-up dynamics of involved stakeholders. And here you can see the picture to the right. I particularly also refer to indigenous people and their way of living and their food ways, which is very different. And adaptivity to the environment and the nutritional needs is very different very often in these cultures. Local and regional levels are indicated when developing resilient and functioning food systems. And that has to do with that all studies that we've done about technology transfer and about developmental economic studies, all these studies have shown that top-down strategies simply do not work, even when they are combined with local participation to adapt them. It is not the way to go to start from the top and go down to the bottom. What we rather should do is go the other way, from the bottom to the top. Look what the problem is and how we can go about it. My 5th criticism relates to what they call strategies. The report purports to offer concrete strategies, aiming at instrumental help, but largely it ends up with mere truisms, like the one here that I quote, a commitment to healthy diet as a strategy. Of course, who is not committed to a healthy diet? The way to do that is the problem. And it's a very complex problem, as we can see in the picture down there. When you have all these interrelations and all these interactions and regards, concerns to consider, what is our strategy? The larger the picture is, the more complex it is, and the more of a challenge it is to devise a strategy. So in sum, I think we can see that it is easy to ignore that managing food system presents us with what was called wicked problems by Rittel and Weber, and that is problem understanding and problem resolutions are concomitant to each other. That is, you don't even know, a precise formulation of the problem, and you don't even know, you don't have a stopping criteria when you have reached a solution. These things are always depending on each other and are fleeting in time also. And the other point that I want to make is that type 1 and type 2 errors are rather well known in statistics, but more common in our sciences, and I addressed this in my opening remarks about the disciplinary silos, is what is called the type 3 error. That is very good science, but unfortunately altogether the wrong problem. You can see this addressed in the cartoon here as well. This is what mostly happens, that scientists in the discipline reformulate the problems so that it becomes a disciplinary problem and then can be answered with disciplinary means in the traditional manner. What we need to do is we have to refer to a transdisciplinary approach where we first are open to really listen to the problem formulations that are out there among the users, among the end users, among the producers, and so on. And then in an interactive communication and dialogue with all experts and with all stakeholders, try to find out ways forward, how to go from that, what can be an answer in a more comprehensive manner. So my preferences then are that we have to do inclusive cross-sectorial, and cross-sectorial means that we don't just deal with dairy production or crop production or fisheries or so on, but we actually deal with food as such in general, the whole issue. Multi-level local, regional and national conversations that aims towards common strategies. Note that depending on where we live, it can be more local or more regional. Even a national strategy can in some countries be very difficult to design, but we have to look at, the realities in our different regions. So we should aim at a value-based, robust and well-informed decisions under high system uncertainty. Now, I have earlier in Turkey argued for food ethics as an issue that so far has fallen out of the picture for many such approaches. And we need to realize how multiple values, like not only economic values, but ecological values, human values, like our work-related values, health-related, food safety, food security, and ethical issues like production conditions, the use of immigrant workers, sometimes even slave workers, like in many parts of the fisheries. All of these ethical issues have to be included. We have to address them explicitly. And we should aim at robust decisions Robust decisions are decisions that have a chance to survive once they're put into practice, and they are not undermined by individual decisions to the opposite. And they should be well informed. That is, we should use the best of our sciences, but realizing that even the best of our sciences come with a high system uncertainty. We cannot get rid of that, but we have to make do with it and make the best out of it. And as I've been arguing just earlier, we should work in transdisciplinary settings in order to acquire trust and robust results. Transdisciplinary settings are, as I said, settings that are open to the voices of the end users, the producers, and the stakeholders in general. And what we should aim at, many scientists think always, oh, we should aim at truth, the final true results. Well, in a way, truth is an unachievable goal. But what we really should do is we should aim at good quality that is fit for purpose. What are the purposes? What is it that we want to address? What kind of solution are we looking for? This fit for purpose is the quality that we should strive at. And I have been addressing this issue, I think, before in Turkey and in other places. This is what comes from the post-normal approach, the post-normal science approach. I have been announcing this earlier, and just to recall it briefly, this is by Funtovich and Roberts. Post-normal science operates when the stakes are high, when the facts are uncertain, the values are in dispute, but still decisions are urgent. And this calls for extended peer reviews, that is what I've been saying, listening to the voices of those users. They are, in many ways, the experts of where the problems are. So, with that, I want to stop my presentation here. Thank you for your kind attention, and I'll wish you all the best in your discussions, in your scientific careers, in your work, and I hope that the next time we will have the chance to meet in person and engage in a dialogue. Here it is already evening in Norway, and I will stop my presentation right now. Thank you very much.